It's a slow news day, but we still here because my cousin Steve, you guys know my cousin Steve, right? He's the show's insider. He's the one that breaks the news to me. ESPN has Adam Schefter. NFL Network has Ian Rappaport. Big Deke News has my cousin Steve. He let me know over the weekend that I've been getting a little lazy. And that's fair. You guys could probably tell that too. Over the last couple weeks, show frequency wasn't where it was over the last couple months. What was it, only maybe like 3 shows a week over the last couple weeks? 3, 4 shows? 2 shows? I don't know. That's where it was. You could tell. I was slacking a little bit. So even though it's a little bit light for content, a little bit slow for Steeler news, we got to start building up the speed here because everyone's reporting to training camp tomorrow, and then training camp starts Thursday, and then we got preseason, and it's going to be the regular season. So, I got to start getting the takes, the momentum, the vibes, corresponding with what's about to start taking place over these next few months. So even though not much going on, damn it, we're going to talk about something. We're going to have some shit to talk about. And to start off, we got the real reason as to why this TJ Watt deal got done before training camp. Or we should say the catalyst behind the TJ Watt deal getting done before training camp. And that was Coach T. Have a listen to Jerry Dulac and his explanation for how Coach T was the one to get this thing moving in a direction where it would ultimately get done before the players reported to training camp tomorrow.
Yeah, Billy, I think there's some merit to that. That Mike Tomlin did not want any more, quote, distractions heading into training camp. That's the last one. It's taken care of. Mike Tomlin's feeling all along was get that deal done, pay him, just get the deal done. He doesn't control the purse strings, but he can certainly push them in a certain direction. I think that was definitely part of it. So they go into camp not wondering, is TJ going to be there? Is he not going to be there?
In my opinion, another plus, another point in Coach T's direction and how he handled this offseason. Because we can complain about all that's taken place over the last however many seasons, the last 7, 8 years, and our playoff disappointments and how this squad has not lived up to the standards. We just need to get a playoff win. It's been the same old, and Tomlin's been the constant under that same old. We can complain about that. We've done that for a portion of the offseason. We particularly complained about it a ton in January and February. And because of that, after we lost that wild card game to the Ravens, I, like most of you, was saying, yeah, it's time to move on from Coach T. I think things have run its course. Things have gone stale. We need a new direction. We need a new head of the ship for 2025 and going forward. It's just time. It's time. Time to move off of Tomlin. We appreciate everything he's done up to this point. Great Steelers head coach, Hall of Famer, but sometimes things just hit that breaking point where both sides got to go their separate ways, and it's going to be better for both parties going in new directions. The example that's brought up how many times with this type of conversation is Andy Reid and the Eagles. So, I thought we hit that point. I thought that's kind of where we were at with the Steelers franchise and Coach T at the helm. But if you were to have told me that instead of moving off of Tomlin after how the 2024 season ended and how all these seasons have ended for the last 7, 8 years, if you were to have told me instead of doing that, we're going to keep Tomlin but have almost a complete roster overhaul for 2025. Like instead of Russ or Fields coming back, we were going to pay Rodgers on a 1-year deal for less money than what Russ and Fields got. Only 1 year, $10 million with incentives. A lot of team incentives. And then we'd get Jalen Ramsey on defense, Darius Slay on defense. Bolster up the defensive line through the draft with a first-round pick being a defensive lineman, Derek Harmon out of Oregon, one of the top defensive tackles, defensive linemen in the draft. And then also get a Jack Sawyer in the 4th round, get a Caleb Johnson in the 3rd round while letting Najee Harris move on. Also sign Kenneth Gainwell for a very reasonable contract. What other moves? Yeah, I guess Jonnu Smith, bringing him in along with the Jalen Ramsey trade. We do give up Minka. Minka's not back. We make some other nice free agent signings, though, like a Juan Thornhill, Malik Harrison, Brandon Eccles. Am I missing any? What other moves? Because, I mean, as I said, we had almost a complete roster overhaul for 2025. At least 50% of the starters, at least 50% are going to be new. I'm pretty sure. If you were to have told me that, I'd say, yeah, let's run it back with Tomlin then. Let's give it a chance. But I thought by bringing back Tomlin, like most of us could safely assume, that if we brought back Tomlin, brought back the same coaching staff, which we did, Tomlin, Terrell Austin, Arthur Smith, I think we only had one change in assistant coaches. Aaron Curry moved on, and we replaced him with former Dallas Cowboys linebackers coach. I can't remember his name off the top of my head right now. I think we'd assume that, yeah, I don't think much else is going to change either. We're just going to do the safe route, same old. Bring back Russ, bring back Fields, maybe have a little signing on defense, signing on offense, but that's about it. But we didn't do that. Not at all. Big time change, and Tomlin is a big reason for it. So if we want to give our criticisms to Tomlin, like Tomlin also has a big part in the personnel and the change that took place this offseason, because we're not getting Rodgers if it's not for Tomlin. We're not making a bunch of these trades. We're not trading for Jalen Ramsey and Jonnu Smith or trading for DK Metcalf. I think that's actually one of the moves that I forgot whenever I was going through the roster overhaul. Yeah, we traded for DK Metcalf and got rid of Pickens. So, like, again, if you would have told me we're making all that change, those roster moves that I mentioned, it's the day after the wild card loss. If you would have told me that, but we're keeping Tomlin, I would have been like, all right, yeah, that's fine. Because something needed to give, and if it's going to be the personnel, if it's going to be the roster, and we're going to take a swing on Aaron Rodgers, and we got a DK Metcalf in here, Pickens out of here, Jalen Ramsey, a bunch of changes on defense, sure. Let's take a chance. Because, again, these moves aren't happening if it's not for Tomlin. Tomlin was at the head of moving off of Pickens. I'm sure Tomlin has to give the green light to trade for DK Metcalf, to bring in Aaron Rodgers. Rodgers said he's not coming here if it wasn't for Tomlin, right? The Jalen Ramsey trade, the Jonnu Smith trade, all this stuff is not happening if Tomlin doesn't give it the green light. So credit to Tomlin. Omar Khan's doing the stuff behind the scenes with the contract and all that. And this TJ Watt deal is the latest. I could see it. I mean, with Omar Khan being the shrewd GM that he is, and TJ Watt probably wanting a certain number after seeing what Myles Garrett got and how TJ Watt has performed over the last 5-6 years. He's the best defensive player in the league. I could have seen that staying at a stalemate throughout preseason or training camp and preseason, and ultimately getting close to the regular season as it did last time with TJ. Because Omar Khan, he's trying to get all these deals to be Steeler friendly. When you're talking about the numbers, talking about the amount of years, the numbers, all that stuff, and the flexibility. Omar Khan doesn't mess around. But with Tomlin saying to Omar, listen, let's get this deal done. I get that we probably want TJ for 2 years. Maybe we want the guarantees a little bit less. TJ wants 4 years. Meet at the middle, get this deal done, because we want to be all in. We don't want any distractions. We don't want any drama for this 2025 season. We already had some of the Aaron Rodgers stuff earlier on. When's he going to sign? What's going on with this and that? He ends up signing. And again, that's due to Tomlin and his patience and the relationship and the rapport that he had with Aaron Rodgers and still has with Aaron Rodgers. And then once Rodgers signed, he shows up the mandatory minicamp. Seamless, no problems at all. Rodgers has a bunch of the players, the receivers, out to Malibu over the last couple weeks, and they're getting ready. Rodgers and Arthur Smith are talking behind the scenes, so no issues at all. None. So again, credit to Tomlin for how he handled the Rodgers stuff, how he handled the quarterback position this offseason, and knowing that we needed to switch it up, and taking a swing on Aaron Rodgers is one of the options we needed to do to get elite quarterback play in here. It was one of the 2 or 3 options that were out there, and I've talked about that ad nauseum. I don't need to get into that again, but yeah, no distractions, no drama. TJ Watt signed. We're going to worry about the TJ contract and all that stuff, his future, after this 2025 season concludes, and worry about the numbers, if we could get off the contract with the trade. All in this year. Everything's aligned. No drama, no distractions. And Tomlin made sure it happened. Wanted to make sure this TJ stuff wasn't lasting into training camp. So credit to Tomlin, credit to TJ Watt for getting the deal done. And now we're on our way. Everything aligned, no drama, no distractions. At least for now. This was the right move, though. This is what needed to be done. It's absolutely what needed to be done. Are we paying TJ a little bit more than we'd like on a per year basis? Yeah, probably. But you just needed to get it done. And how we have it structured for at least this season is TJ's salary cap's actually less. His cap hit is less, and we created more cap space for ourselves to potentially make another move, make another addition on offense, whether you're talking another outside receiver, make another addition on defense, whether you're talking another safety. And Jerry Dulac talked about the former. We got a Jerry Dulac heavy show today. Talked about the former, as in getting potentially another receiver on this roster on the same station that he was talking about the TJ Watt deal, DVE, and what the Jonnu Smith trade, what adding Jonnu Smith meant for us, potentially bringing in another outside receiver, or potentially that wide receiver too that has been eluding us for the last couple seasons.
Did the acquisition of Jonnu Smith stop the search for another wide receiver, or did it just sort of slow it down?
Yeah, I think at best it slowed it down because they figure they can line him, flex him, and serve as another quote wide receiver. So I don't know. They signed Robert Woods. Is that Allen Robinson? We'll see. But yeah, I think Jonnu Smith. I think that's the way they're viewing that. I think, of course, training camp and a preseason will speak, as to whether that is what they think is good going on. Because, always by the end of training camp, they decide, okay, do we still have a hole or a weakness somewhere?
He's saying it slowed the process, which was kind of what I was getting at yesterday. I think I had almost that exact take. I don't think it completely stops us from making another signing, but we're going to wait and see what Roman Wilson, Calvin Austin, and Robert Woods look like in this offense in training camp and in preseason. And then maybe even the regular season. You saw us last year go into the regular season with Pickens as our 1 and Van Jefferson as our 2. After Roman Wilson got hurt, it was like Van Jefferson's our 2, Calvin Austin our 3. We got Scotty Miller. We end up picking up Ben Skoranek in the middle of the season, but then we also, traded for Mike Williams. We went into last season with that receiving group. I'm sure after adding Jonnu Smith, we're 100% fine, if need be, going into week 1 with DK Metcalf, Jonnu Smith, Pat Freiermuth, Darnell Washington, Calvin Austin, after showing he could be a 500-600-yard receiver. More proven, this Calvin Austin, this version of Calvin Austin is better than what he was last offseason. So we got that, upgraded Calvin Austin, Roman Wilson, healthy now, not hurt, and a Robert Woods, on top of still having Scotty Miller and Ben Skoranek here. So, we improved the wide receiver one. We improved our offensive weapons. Even though we can complain about, we don't have Pickens, we're still looking for that outside guy. We trade in DK Metcalf, but trade away Pickens. Now we got the same problems. The weapons in the receiver room I think the offense in general, if you want to add running backs, the surroundings around our quarterback are much better than what it was last year. Rodgers has more to work with than what Justin Fields and Russ had, for sure. So I think it is safe to assume that we're going to wait it out. We had less to work with last year, and we went into week 1 with that. Now we have more to work with. I don't think we're stressing. And especially with what the options are. Last year it was... Now, I'm trying to remember. I don't think there was a more electric option via trade in Brandon Ayuk than what's available for what it seems right now via trade. Because, Tyreek Hill's name's being thrown out there, but Miami's at least going to go into week 1 with him. They're not going to trade him. So there was Brandon Ayuk via trade. I don't remember who was available free agency. I don't think, honestly, I will say Amari Cooper, Keenan Allen, Gabe Davis, that's probably a little bit more intriguing if you're talking about free agency versus what was last year. But, Brandon Ayuk was on the table, and we did try to get that done. We tried, but ultimately didn't. So, options may be a little bit better this year in terms of free agency, but it's still not something I think we're really stressing over. Especially after that Jonnu Smith trade. Different story if he's not added into it, if it was just Minka for Jalen Ramsey and pick swaps. But with Jonnu Smith being here and the versatility he has, you can play him in the slot, tight end, fullback. You play him outside when we get down to the red zone. You play him outside, probably in the middle of the field. And we did that type of stuff with Ebron. Remember that. Ebron. And Jonnu Smith, coming off of the Pro Bowl season he had with Miami, is an upgrade over Ebron. He's better. Better at blocking. Maybe you could argue as a receiver. I would take Jonnu Smith. We know Ebron had his drops. Ebron was decent at route running and stuff, but Jonnu Smith, bigger frame, more physical receiver, more versatile. So, Jonnu Smith's just better than Ebron, and we were kind of versatile in how we used him. Jonnu Smith's just going to be better for us than Ebron, flat out, because we benched Ebron once Freiermuth got here, basically. Freiermuth's rookie year, Ebron's snaps went down the tubes real quick, and Freiermuth became our number 1. Whereas Freiermuth's our number 1 right now, and we brought in Jonnu Smith, and, we know they're going to be a tandem. If anything, Jonnu Smith's going to be taken away from Freiermuth. So just different dynamic with Jonnu versus Ebron, but maybe kind of the same in terms of you're talking about versatility, but just better versatility and hopefully better production and just better results with Jonnu. But yeah, that's it for, I guess, the Jonnu Smith talk. One more thing. And since we're talking about offense, talking about weapons, talking about receivers, I'm liking what Calvin Austin III is saying recently. He went on, this was about a week ago, so it's not too recent, but he went on local Memphis, I guess not radio, because I got the visual here. I got video of it. He went on local Memphis news, I guess, and he was asked about some stuff regarding this upcoming Steelers season, particularly what Aaron Rodgers had to say about, and to Calvin Austin, about CAIII's game and what Rodgers likes about it.
Yeah, the first time I met him, one of the first things he said was about my speed. And, obviously that's my, my main thing and something that, got me to the point I'm at today. But one of the other things he was talking about was, me going over the middle to make those tough catches. And that was something that I just really worked on last year and wanted to show, really, just that, I'm not just a straight down the field speed guy, tough third downs, across the middle. I'm that guy that can make those catches and can, show up in those big time crucial moments.
And then Austin also brought up, and I'm going to tie both of these comments together. That's why I want to play both of them before really reacting to this. Because Austin also brought up some stuff about what he thinks needs to start happening as an offense for the Steelers to reach the ultimate goal, and that is a Super Bowl, obviously.
Man, we trying to win a Super Bowl. So I'm like, the only way we can get there is if we all like really be brothers and really can come up to somebody and be like, hey, you ain't practicing how I think you should, how I know you can practice, or I think you should do this on this route. We all got to be, receptive to that tough, but needed criticism.
He's 100% right. And why I use both of these comments here, what Aaron Rodgers says about Calvin Austin's game and what Calvin Austin thinks needs to happen as an offense for us to get back to our Super Bowl ways, is that Calvin Austin might be the right guy to be the Steelers' leader on offense. Now, obviously, Aaron Rodgers, as a veteran, with who Aaron Rodgers is going to step in, being the quarterback. He's naturally going to be the leader, right? We know that. But sometimes you need some other leaders. Sometimes it just can't be one guy. It's got to be another guy or two that people can look to and say, like, especially because you have different position groups, right? Sometimes you need a couple other guys, a couple other leaders. So, like, go back to the Big Ben era, right? We had multiple leaders on offense. Like, Big Ben was a leader, naturally. Quarterback. He stepped into that. It evolved into that just naturally because you're the quarterback. You have to be a leader, but he's winning games. He's balling out. Fourth quarter comebacks, playoff success, all that stuff. But Hines Ward was also a leader. Jerome Bettis, in the early Ben days, leader. Heath Miller was a leader, right? They didn't talk too much, but action spoke louder than words with him. So we had Marquise Pouncey, another guy, another perfect example of just having, honestly, that whole offensive line during that time, like the Killer B era. AB, leader, probably more by just work ethic and that type of example as opposed to maybe some of the other stuff that you got with AB. But you kind of get my point here. Rodgers is going to be the Steelers' leader for this season. But we know he's most likely going to be one and done. So who's going to be one of those guys on offense for other players to look to for leadership as time goes on? And that's something that we have been drastically lacking in from an offensive standpoint over the last several years. Like, we just kept talking, like, who's the leader on offense? Who is it? Because we're getting inconsistent quarterback play, different guys in at quarterback. Matt Canada doesn't know what the hell he's doing from a play calling standpoint. And then we tried with Russ last year, but it's like one of those things. I think he brought natural leadership through his experience and just who Russell Wilson is. But you also got to back it up a little bit. And Russ was backing it up. When we were sitting at 10-3, we were talking about Russ being one of the best quarterbacks in the AFC. But then you go 0-5 down the stretch, and Russ is who he is. He likes to be vocal, likes to have high energy, try to talk up the guys. But you could see what he was doing on the field wasn't necessarily backing that up. And players weren't exactly bought in as what they were whenever Russ was just flat out playing good. So sometimes it is less about the talk and what you're saying to guys and more about what you're putting out there on the field. Because remember, at the end of the season, Week 18, we lose the Bengals, devastating fashion, lose our home field advantage in the playoffs, and Cam's walking off the field, and Russ is like, "Don't worry, bro, we got this. Come on, like, stay up. We're winning 4 straight." And Cam's just like, "Bro, come on. Like, I don't know. I don't know if I believe you anymore. Like, I just don't know."
Hey, let's win the last 4, all right? Yeah. Look at me. Let's go. We can do it. Yeah. You know what I'm saying? Yeah. Don't doubt now. Yeah. You feel me? Let's go win the last 4.
It's because of how Russ has played deteriorated over those last 5 weeks. Like, where was the hope? You could say certain things. We got this, I did this in the past, but like those last 5 games, I just don't know if there's going to be a flip of a switch once playoff hit and you're going to get back to being prime Russ and we're going to be on our way in the playoffs here. Like, that's what Cam had to have been thinking right there. Like, you're telling me it's all good, but these last 5 games and what the offense was doing, less than, 14 points a game. We didn't put up over 14 points in any of those games. It's telling me otherwise. And we're going up against teams that we're going to have to beat in the playoffs. So, like, the action's got to back up the talk. And Calvin Austin, even though he's not all-world or anything right now, but The actions back up the talk with how the dude plays. Bro, he's the smallest guy on the field, but he is, like Aaron Rodgers was saying, catching the passes over the middle, making the tough catch, doing everything. Like, doing everything right. Like, one of the hardest working dudes there, like, just willing to put it all out there for the team. So, like, if there is someone that can maybe take up the mantle and be a leader for this offense once Rodgers retires and we get a new rookie in here, whoever it is, right? Even if it's Will Howard, you need multiple guys. You need multiple guys to be leaders. I talked about the offense from back in the day in the Big Ben era. What about the defense? You had multiple leaders on defense, right? Casey Hampton, James Harrison, Troy Polamalu, Ike Taylor, the inside linebackers, James Ferrier, Larry Foote. Like, you couldn't have enough leaders. So Calvin Austin might be one of those guys to look out for. He's not DK Metcalf in terms of talent or anything like that. But it seems like he's open to being vocal and to trying to call out and hold others accountable and how we're working, how we're practicing, and how we're going about things. And it seems like he backs it up. So he would be a rightful guy to do that type of stuff. It's different if, again, you're just talking like, we got to do this, we got to do that, and then you're not backing it up on the field. You're not willing to go the extra effort or anything like that on the field. Calvin Austin seems like he's willing to do that. And not saying, going back to the whole Russ comparison, Russ wasn't giving us 100% effort and all that stuff. It's like sometimes it just comes down to, are you playing well or not? You could give 100% effort, but if you're not playing well, that's part of it as well. So Calvin Austin, he's played well. He 500? It was almost 600 yards last year. Like, had a really nice season as our wide receiver 3. Really solid season for us. So he had production for us last year. Did all the little things right. Was even, again, the smallest guy on the field, willing to block, willing to go out. Like, not the best blocker, but you got, on the other hand, a guy like Pickens who can block. We've seen him block. We've seen him dismantle people and go viral on the internet for his blocking, but it's 50-50 on whether or not he wants to do it or not. And then he's dropping easy passes, lackadaisical in his routes, not buttoned up, not detailed. It's like, I mean, how are you supposed to be a leader? How are you supposed to be the Steelers franchise receiver and the guy that one of the guys this offense should be looking to for now and into the future, which is obviously questions that Tomlin had himself and why we moved off of Pickens. But yeah, like Calvin Austin, I think he could maybe be one of those guys for us. I really do. I like that he says this, and it feels like he means it. It's not coming from a fake place. It's not coming from a spot either where he can't back it up in his own right and put in the work and have the discipline and do all the right things, because it seems like he's doing that. The only thing that sucked with him early on is he got hurt. Does everything good on special teams. It feels like he's an underrated punt returner, actually, because he's either catching the ball, good ball security, fair catch, whatever it is, or when he does return, he's getting at least 10, 15 yards and then has the ability to take it to the house like we've seen before. But, yeah, I'm liking what I'm hearing from Calvin Austin. I'm liking some of the reports, not only the stuff coming out of his mouth, but I'm hearing from Caboli. I'm hearing from some of these other Steelers insiders saying, like, watch out for Calvin Austin having a breakout year. They're also saying that about Roman Wilson, too, which, if we're going to wrap up today's show and have it come full circle, is another reason why I think the Steelers are fine waiting on adding a receiver. If we were to, though, the one guy right now would be Gabe Davis, just because he has a skill set that outside of DK Metcalf, not really any of our other receivers have, and that's the take the top off the defense type of ability, vertical threat. That's the only reason why. And he would be on a vet minimum contract, too. It wouldn't really take much to get him here. But I don't know if he's healthy. It seems like he hasn't been able to pass a physical. He's been visiting teams, but none of the teams are really interested. So when he gets healthy, and him and the Steelers have had contact, it seemed like the meeting went well between the two. Who knows? Maybe that could be a nice little pickup, because I don't think Gabe Davis necessarily takes away from what Calvin Austin or Roman Wilson can do, or any of the other weapons. He's just like an added piece that we could throw out there for like 10, 11, 15 snaps, just a new wrinkle, just like a guy that the defense is going to have to account for, because we're going to be sending him on a vertical, and it could open up some things for the middle of the field and the shorter yardage stuff. But, yeah, that's it for today's show. Hope you guys enjoyed. Let me know your thoughts on the topics discussed down in the comments. Here we go, Steelers. We definitely got content tomorrow because Steelers are reporting the training camp. So we'll react to the interviews and the stuff that comes out of Latrobe for the first day. Stay tuned for that. And that's it for the show. Peace.